And now, ladies and gentlemen, if we take a look back over at the Oracle VirtualBox Manager GUI, you will notice that we are now getting the metrics back for the RAM usage. You see, you just have to have a little bit of faith and just hang on and believe in yourself that you can figure it out. And we have figured it out. So now we get all of our metrics as we should, up to date in real time for this particular VM.
Welcome to Fresh Forensics, your go-to destination for everything Linux.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel.
What's up everyone? Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune into my channel. If you have not done so already, please stop whatever you are doing. Hit that subscribe button. Most of the people watching my channel are not even subscribed to my channel. And that is the most simple and easiest way to support what I am doing. So please hit that subscribe button. I'm running the latest version of Oracle VirtualBox on top of my Ubuntu Linux host machine. The current version of VirtualBox is 7.1. And this version of VirtualBox has come with many significant changes, and a lot of them are in the UI or the user interface. So one of the things that I'm trying to get up and running is with the metrics that you see over here on the right hand side of the Oracle VirtualBox Manager GUI. On the left hand side we have the VM list, and on the right hand side we have our metrics, and we can customize the metrics that you see on the screen by clicking on preferences. So I can, for example, change the color scheme, and if I click on activity overview, it will take us to this section right here, and then I can actually click on a specific VM. So for example, I have Ubuntu testing is the only one running, so I'll click on that and click on VM activity, and it will take us back to what you see here. But as you can clearly see, there's one section that we are getting no usage from, and that is for the RAM. And it says that this metric requires guest additions to work. So we need to get guest additions working properly in order for us to see any of the metrics associated with the RAM usage. So I'm going to open up the virtual machine that is running. This virtual machine is running the latest version of Ubuntu, not to be confused with my host machine that is also running Ubuntu. So if I open up a terminal and I cat out etc os release, we'll get back that this is Ubuntu 25.04, known as Plucky Puffin, or codename Plucky. And you can actually see over here on the left hand side, here is the disk icon image for VirtualBox guest additions. Now, one of the really nice features of this new version of VirtualBox is that you don't actually have to run any additional commands like you used to prior to this in order to get VirtualBox. You used to have to separately install VirtualBox guest additions, perhaps from the command line by running sudo apt install VirtualBox guest additions, etc. and so forth. But now with this new version of VirtualBox, it comes already with it. When you open up a particular virtual machine like the one I have open here, you can come up to the top and click on the Devices tab, and then you come down here where it says Insert Guest Additions CD Image, and then you just click on that. And that will bring us to this point where we have the VirtualBox guest additions disk icon showing over here on the left. But you still have to go a little bit further than that, and if I click on that, it will either attempt to do the installation or it'll pop open a box similar to what we see here. There's a couple different ways that you could approach this. There's an auto run script, and then there's also a run as root script. Or if you wanted to, you could even just go down to the command line, and if we cd into /media and then the name of the machine, which is fork, and do an ls, here is that VirtualBox guest additions disk image, because it did mount that image. So here's the mount point. And if I cd inside of that and list out what's inside, we'll have all of those same files that we see when we click on the disk image right here. Well, whether you attempt to do the auto run or the run as root from inside of this panel, or you come down to the command line, you may run into an issue. This is a brand new virtual machine running the latest version of Ubuntu, and what that means is that there are certain packages that have yet to be installed. So if I attempt to run the auto run bash script, we will be asked for our authentication password, and what we see is that it attempts to verify the archive integrity with the MD5 checksums, which there's no problem there, and then it attempts to uncompress the guest edition's disk image. And then we run into this issue because it's trying to use bzip2, and bzip2 is not found. So it tells us please install bzip2 as well as tar, and then try again. Well, if I do a which on bzip2, it is in fact not installed. If I do a which on tar is installed. So I'm not sure why it's saying to install tar, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and run sudo apt install bzip2. Okay, so bzip2 is now installed, and just for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and run sudo apt install tar, just to see if maybe there is a later version than the one that I have currently installed. And there is not. All right, so we are good to go. So let's go ahead and try to run the auto run bash script once more. And this time we are not getting any errors. It does appear to be completing the install. We are seeing some good signs that that is what is happening. And something significant just happened. You saw the box, or the screen for the virtual machine, just changed its size. It just shrunk a little bit. That to me is an indication that perhaps the guest editions was successfully installed, because we know that one of the things that guest editions is good for is for being able to resize the window. So I'm going to hit enter. And immediately I do notice that it is allowing me to resize the window. You see, as I continue to make it just a little bit bigger, it takes a second and then it snaps into place. And that is because of guest editions. That is one of the main reasons why people go to great lengths to install guest editions, is so that we can resize the window of the virtual machines like this. So I should be able to maximize this, and it will take up the whole entire window. All right, so we know that guest editions is now successfully installed. But nonetheless, over here on our Oracle VirtualBox Manager's GUI interface, we are getting the same results on the right-hand side for the overview for the metrics. There has been no change made to the metrics for the RAM usage. So I'm going to assume that a restart is going to be required. So let's go ahead and shut down any and all virtual machines that are running. And I'm going to exit out of the VirtualBox Manager and restart it. All right, now that we've restarted the VirtualBox Manager, let's go ahead and restart that virtual machine that we installed guest editions on. So we restarted the Ubuntu virtual machine, and if we take a look at the Oracle VirtualBox Manager, we are still getting the same thing with the metrics. So even after installing guest editions, it has not had any effect on that. I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to come over here to the VM and click on the disk image for VirtualBox guest editions one more time. And I'm going to run the auto run script once more. So I do notice that at the bottom, while it doesn't air out, it does suggest that we should install a couple more packages, GCC Make and Perl. And this is so that it can build the kernel modules. So even though we didn't get any errors, maybe that's something that we should do, and possibly that will have an effect on the metrics. It does also tell us that instead of restarting, we could just run the command vboxadd reload. Well, if nothing else, we definitely demonstrated how to get VirtualBox guest editions successfully installed and running on the latest version of Ubuntu, and that in and of itself is valuable. Now, I am still trying to get the metrics to properly work to display the RAM usage for this VM, and I have yet to successfully do so. So I'm not sure what's going on with that yet, but there were some recommendations that were made that may help, or may just get us a little bit further down the road in all of our endeavors with this particular virtual machine, and that is to make sure that we have GCC Make and Perl installed. So I'm going to run which on GCC, and that is not installed. I will run which on Make, that is not installed. And if I run which on Perl, that is installed. So I'm going to go ahead and run the command sudo apt install GCC and Make. Alright, so now that GCC and Make have both been installed, even though guest editions is clearly working properly, I'm going to rerun the auto run script. And this is so that if it needs to do any additional things in which GCC and Make need to be used, such as in building this into a kernel module, that it's able to do so. So I'm just going to cd inside of media, the name of this machine, and then VirtualBox guest editions, because this is a disk image, therefore it is mounted to your system just like any other disk image would be. And I'm going to run the auto run bash script. So it's going to remove the previous version that was installed, which is the same version, so it is essentially removing itself. But once again, I'm doing this because I now have GCC and Make installed, and I want to give it the opportunity to properly build the kernel modules. And you can see that it is taking a little bit of time, and the last line that we have on the screen is letting us know that it is in fact building the modules for the kernel. So this is definitely doing a little bit more than it did the previous time that we ran this. And I hit enter to close that window. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if we take a look back over at the Oracle VirtualBox Manager GUI, you will notice that we are now getting the metrics back for the RAM usage. You see, you just have to have a little bit of faith and just hang on and believe in yourself that you can figure it out. And we have figured it out. So now we get all of our metrics, as we should, up to date in real time for this particular VM. Now if I open that virtual machine back up, we should be able to click on View and adjust window size, and I should be able to maximize the screen again. So from here I have two different options. I can either restart it, or as it did suggest to us, there's a command that we can run, and that is vboxsf reload. And you're going to have to use root privileges for that. So let me rerun that command with sudo. And it even tells us that if the additional features such as shared clipboard, drag and drop, seamless, or guest screen resize are not available to us, then just go ahead and restart it. I'll click on View again, adjust window size, and it is still not available to us. So we did finally figure out how to get our metrics for the RAM usage but now we have temporarily lost the ability to resize the screen. So now would be a good point just to go ahead and shut it down and restart it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to power off the machine, give it about 30 seconds, and then we'll restart the machine. All right, so I see after a short delay, our RAM usage metrics is available to us, so that is a good thing. Let's go ahead and log into the machine, and hopefully we have no issues with resizing the screen. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. So we have been able to successfully install VirtualBox guest editions inside of the latest version of Ubuntu Plucky Puffin. We had to install a couple additional packages to get this working properly. Those packages were bzip2, GCC, and Make. You also want to make sure you have Perl installed as well as tar. And once we did all of that and we reran that auto run script for the VirtualBox guest editions image and restarted the machine, we were able to get everything working properly. So we have a fully maximized window, and as you can see, we have our metrics properly displaying for our RAM usage. So if you're going to be doing a lot of things with virtual machines, then it might be a very good idea to clone a virtual machine. Now, when I'm cloning virtual machines, to make things much easier for me, before I do the clone, I'm going to run a couple commands. So I'm going to run sudo apt update -y to update my repositories. It says that 10 packages can be upgraded. You can actually run apt list -- upgradable, and it will show me which packages. Now I'm going to run sudo apt upgrade -y to actually upgrade those 10 packages. Now that the packages have been upgraded, I'm going to install any additional packages that I wish to have on the system, make any final changes that I want to be incorporated into my clone. So for example, I'll install htop. I've already installed and configured VirtualBox guest editions. And once everything is updated, upgraded, installed, and configured, then, and only then, will I clone the machine. Finally, we need to shut down the machine. Since this is going to be an updated clone, I'm going to get rid of any previous clones that I've done. So I'll click on my previous clone, right click, and click remove, and I'm going to delete all files. Now on the VM that I'm cloning, I will do a right click, click clone, and we have to give the new cloned machine a name. Make sure it doesn't interfere with any previous names that we have used. Once I have determined a name, I will click next, and I am going to do a full clone. So I will click finish. Now over on the right hand side of the Oracle VirtualBox Manager GUI, it is copying the machine, and this will take some time. When it gets to 100%, our clone is finished. All right, the clone has finished, and as you can see, we now have a new cloned virtual machine from the original, and this is useful for many, many reasons. Now, anything that we do inside of our cloned VM, we know that if need be, we can always revert back to the original. It can be very useful, especially when you are testing or trying new things. One thing you want to keep in mind is that since this is cloned, everything is going to be the same, down to even the host name, although you should have differing machine IDs. So I have VirtualBox open. This is the Oracle VirtualBox GUI Manager interface. And just for sake of context, I can run the command vboxmanage with -- version, and that will give us the current version of VirtualBox that I'm using, and that is version 7.1.8. Now in this new version of VirtualBox, there were quite a few changes that were made, and I gotta say, I'm incredibly happy with it. I think that they have created perhaps the best version of VirtualBox by far. Very, very happy with it. But there have been a few small things that have been kind of hard to get accustomed to. So this problem that I ran into, and I see a lot of people online posting about running into this same problem, it has to do with the left side of the GUI VirtualBox Manager interface. The left side of this window is actually called the Machiine list or VM list window pane. And this is where typically you are going to see the list of all your available virtual machines that you have installed on VirtualBox. Whether they are running or not, you're going to see that list on this left side. Well, however this happens, for me, this problem occurred because I like to display the VM activity overview when I'm running my various VMs. So let me go ahead and start one of these up so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to start up one of my VirtualBox VMs. And when I do, you can see that over here on the right side, we have various metrics that begin to populate the screen, such as the CPU load, the network rate, the disk I/O, etc., and so forth. And when I'm running my virtual machines, I like to see these metrics in the background or in another window on my host machine. Well, you can adjust the GUI so that that is all that you see. Or in other words, I'll get rid of this list on the left-hand side. And one way that I might do that is simply by maximizing the screen and then adjusting the left and the right side by finding this very hard to find middle line right here until it gives me the expansion arrows, and then I can move it to the left or to the right to adjust each side like that. Well, let's say that, for example, I go all the way over like that, and now all I see are the metrics. And then I might perhaps minimize the window a little bit, get rid of all of that blank space at the bottom that I don't want to see. Something like that. And that looks good. I like that. I'll throw this up in the corner of one of my multiple monitors and run my virtual machines. That's great. Problem is how do we get back to the way that we had it to see the virtual machines on the left? Even if I shut down VirtualBox and restart it, it's going to bring me right back to this point. And now I have lost ability to list or even interact with those machines on the left-hand side, to the point where I couldn't figure it out, and I was forced to start using the command line to start up my VMs. Well, the fix when you run into this, it's not the most intuitive thing in the world, but I'm going to show you how to fix it right now. The command will be in the description. If you run into this problem, you can copy and paste and you are good to go. So to fix this problem, we are going to use a subcommand available to us with vboxmanage. Vboxmanage is something that comes with VirtualBox, particularly on Linux. I can say that it comes with it. I don't know about Windows, but we can use the vboxmanage command to do pretty much anything and everything with VirtualBox from the command line. So for example, I could run vboxmanage with list and VMs, and it will list all of my VMs with the name as well as the UUID. And I can even list the running VMs by adding running onto that. And I left out the G, and there you go. So I have one VM that is currently running. This is how you would do it with the vboxmanage command. Not the most intuitive thing in the world, but nonetheless, you're going to run vboxmanage. What we are essentially going to do is change the cache for the UI position of our current VirtualBox user. That sounds kind of complicated, but that is what we are doing. So we're going to run the command. We are going to run the command vboxmanage, and then we're going to use a subcommand called setextradata, and then global GUI in all caps / SplitterSizes, capital S for splitter, capital S for sizes. And then I'm giving it a set of values in quotation marks with a comma separating each value. So the first value is 853. The second one is 426. Once again, this command will be in the description. And then I'm going to hit enter. Now, if I go back to the Oracle VirtualBox Manager screen, we see absolutely no difference. So the last thing we're going to do is shut it down. Let me shut down my running VM as well first. I'm going to shut down any running VMs, and then I'm going to shut down the Oracle VirtualBox Manager GUI, and then restart it. And now, after restarting it, you can see that we are back to the split screen. On the left is the list of virtual machines, and on the right are the metrics. So no matter how you run into this problem, because there's various ways people have ran into it, that is a clear-cut way for you to revert back to what you see on the screen now. I'm going to show you guys how to configure a shared folder inside of VirtualBox. While my virtual machine is running, I'm going to come up here to the top, click on Devices, and then Shared Folders. Shared Folders Settings. Under Shared Folders, I'm going to click the plus icon. I'm going to provide a folder path. This is a path on my host machine. It will automatically fill in the value for the folder name. And now I'm going to give it a mount point. This mount point is on the VM. I'll use media and call it doorbell to match the folder path name. And click OK, and then OK again. Next, I'll run sudo make directory, and I'll create that directory off of media called doorbell. Now that I've created the directory where I'm going to mount the shared folder, let's go ahead and mount the shared folder. I do that by running sudo mount-t, give it the file system type, which is going to be vboxsf, followed by the name of the share, which is doorbell, and finally the folder path. And finally the mount point. Now if I run ls on that newly created mount point, I will get everything that is inside of that directory on my host machine, and I can share the files between the two.
If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Linux, cybersecurity, and hacking content. And as always, keep learning
and stay fresh.
I'll see you in the next video. Fresh forensics is a way of life, you heard me? Check out the GitHub repo, baby. github.com/DouglasFreshHabian.
Fresh forensics, baby.